Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this series of videos, I'm going to go through houseplants, dead or alive, and why. Stay tuned and we'll go through that right now. So this little plant is known as an Alocasia Polly. It's also known as a Kris plant, and my name is Kris, so it's kind of my namesake. I love this plant, and I've killed plenty of them. But I bought these two plants at the same time, and one of them died all the way back, and the other one started looking pretty rough about a month ago. And then this new shoot came up, this new leaf came up, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's not completely unfurled yet, but it's working on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this one. Sometimes when you have plants, it's a normal process where they'll die back, and I think that's what's happened here. This one died all the way back, and I shot some B-roll, and I'll show you that it's actually starting to come back. This variety of plant likes to go dormant and likes to get a rest period before it starts putting on new blooms. So it starts looking a little raggedy come, end of year, December, January. And when we get to March, which is what I'm filming now, the extra light or the more light coming on triggers the plants to grow, and all of a sudden they start coming back to life. Many people can't tolerate the dormant period, and they don't understand or don't want to wait, and they throw plants out. I knew to take this and go put it in a quiet place to rest for a while until we can get to this point where I'm going to do a little repot to help refresh it, because I do know from this one, which was sitting right next to it, that it started putting on the new leaf. The B-roll will show that I have growth starting at this tip and it's coming out. This is like a corm, like a bulb type of plant, and I'm going to break all the old soil off it, and we're going to put fresh soil on it. I'm just going to use standard potting soil with a chunky mix. So the one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse the current pot. I don't want to repot them as far as upsizing them, and I really like the container. I'm really starting to like the color green in my surroundings or in my decor. I'm going to take this out. You can see it's pretty wet. You can see the roots are nice and white. They're not black and mushy. And I'm just going to take all that soil off. There's an extra little baby in there. Well, that was nice. Like I said, I've had these plants for about 2 years, and they haven't grown a lot because I didn't have them in enough light. So I started moving them to more light. Now I've got little bulbs in here, which is kind of neat. And I'm just going to tear this stuff off here. I'm going to peel it back, and then I got an extra baby, which is fun. I always like having extra plants. I'll do a little propagating with that one. And I got these really small ones, which I'll set aside and probably put in the same pot with the extra one. Now I want to use some fresh soil. I got a bunch of babies in here, actually. So I ended up with a bunch of little baby bulbs or corms, which is really cool. I'm going to put them in this little pot for now. I'll see what else I find. And I may move them out to my greenhouse to do some work with them out there. There's another one. Wow, that's really cool. I think I've got one nice size one, and then the mother plant and a bunch of babies, so that's cool. I'm just going to set this aside right now and unpackage that one. I'm going to unpackage the other one as well. What did I pay for this? It was a couple of years ago. I paid $20 for this. So when you pay 20 bucks for a plant, you kind of want it to survive. So I'm going to gently remove this one. And what I'm going to do, I'll go wash these containers out to nice and clean. Again, I'm just going to tear this down. Let's see what I can find. This is one of the more difficult plants to grow, so being able to find babies that I can propagate is really kind of fun. Okay, so that's that one. You can see those roots are really nice and healthy. Looks really good. And I think they'll fit fine in that pot. So I'm going to set this aside for right now. I'm going to get rid of this soil. It's a couple years old. And we'll start with some fresh soil when we repot. So I am going to start with some fresh potting soil. I'm going to put some in the bottom of one of these containers here to get it going. Rinse these containers out. I'm going to try to get it seated as up and down as I can, as straight. And get all those beautiful white roots back in the container. This is really a nice chunky mix. I got this at a local store. And it's got lots of bark and just really nice draining, well-draining soil. Looks great. So like I said, I was having some problems growing these. And I decided to move it to a room with a little more light, and then it did pretty well. And then we went into winter, so it became dormant. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to put it back in the container in the cover pot, and I'm going to fill another one of these up. And this one I'm going to pot up, and you can see how far it could fall down in there, so I'm going to make sure I get more soil in the bottom. This one didn't have as many nice roots as that one did, and that might be part of the problem of why it died back further. Sometimes you can get them to stay all winter, like one I did, obviously, and this one did not. So, but again, don't panic if you have these kind of plants. Also, what I need to do is pull that other one up a little bit. So this one wants to have that top of that root ball or that bulb to be above the soil a little bit. You don't want that saturated. So I am going to pull this one back up a little bit and make sure that that top of that corm is present and sticking out. Because you don't want them rotting on you. Make a little indentation so the water can get down and around it, but really want the top of that bulb to be above the soil line. All right, 1 and 2. So I got this little baby one and all these little ones, and I'm going to probably find a different container to put these in. I don't know which one I'm going to do. I really like repurposing containers. This is a spinach container I use, and I use these for mini greenhouses all the time. So that's what I'm going to probably do with these. Get some little pots full of soil here. So again, I'm going to take this one, which has some nice roots already developing. I've got a little bit of soil in the bottom of this container, and I'm going to plant this one, which has some really nice, well-defined roots already starting. I'm going to push that down in there, keeping the point above the soil line. I just sterilized the soil this morning too, so it's kind of warm yet, but it'll do fine. And then I'm going to pot up these little ones. Let's see how many I've got. That was just a treasure. I'll maybe put 2 per container here. We'll see how they do. It's really hard to see them because they're dark colored, just like the soil. And I have no idea how long it takes for these things to go. It may take another year before they actually... It may take an actual year before that they're going to actually start sprouting, but I'm going to move them into a nice sunny window and we'll see what happens. And then what I'll do is I will just mist the top of them. The really key is don't get these things too wet because they will rot on you. Sometimes people make the mistake of thinking because it's tropical that it has to be really wet. And humid is one thing and wet is another. You don't want soaking soil because that will create a rot problem for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tuck them neatly away in this little miniature greenhouse. Got 6 of them. Well, how fun was that? There they are in the little greenhouse. So that was fun with a little surprise. Again, Amazonica or Polly, or the Kris plant. If this video is helpful, give us a thumbs up so YouTube knows to share this content with others. Also consider subscribing so you don't miss any of our other great videos. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.